Okay, brother, you good to go.
All right. So here I was in Guadalajara, dumped off at the yard of a a trucking company, and I had no money, no food, no water. So I remember on the way in on the highway there was a gas station just a few blocks over from where I was at, and so I got that brand new gas container right there, and I walked at 1 o'clock in the morning. I walked over there, and I filled it up with water. And I know they say not to drink the water, but when you go 2 days without water, let me tell you, man, you're thirsty. And so I drank the water, and I was just hoping that I didn't get sick, and which I didn't. Fortunately for me, I didn't get sick. But that's how I got my water, the first 2 days. And I spent, 2 weeks like that with nobody going by to check up on me, as promised. And so, I was angry. I was angry because, I had everything, I was comfortable on the ranch where I was at, Mexicali. And, here I am once again being dumped off in a place, but this time there was nobody there to look after me. There was nobody there to greet me. I was just left there, and that was it. So for the next few days, I was going on my third, fourth day without eating. And then I had a brand new ghetto blaster, and something in my mind just says, hey, get your radio and go sell it. So on the highway, right there it's a highway leaving Guadalajara. They got a bunch of, stores right there. They got secondhand stores. They got auto parts shops, liquor stores. And so I noticed there was a auto parts shop open, and I walked over there and asked the dude, if he wanted to buy the radio. And he pointed next door. It was a secondhand store right there. I hadn't even noticed it. So I walked in there in my broken Spanish, I asked if they wanted to buy it, and, they said plugged it in, turned it on for them. They asked me how much. I just told them $50, 150 pesos, 150 pesos. It was about $50 back then, So as soon as they dished out the money, I walked down the street a little bit, headed towards into the city, Guadalajara. And then they had a mom and pop shop right there. They were selling burgers and beer and sodas and stuff like that. So, I went in there and I bought me a burger and a beer. And once the burger was ready, man, I sat there on the curbside because I hadn't eaten in 4 days, So I sat there and I ate that burger and I drank that beer. And after I was done, I headed about a mile into the city to the shopping center. And that's when I went and bought I bought a sack of potatoes, a dozen of eggs, a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and a jar of jelly. I bought me a pot and a lighter, and took it all back to the yard over there. So every day for breakfast for the next week and a half, I had me a potato and an egg. For lunchtime was a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and for dinner again was a potato and an egg. And I would boil the potato and the egg in the pot right there on a bonfire that I had made using the gasoline from the diesels. But that's how I lived. And then one day there was a knock on the door, and these truck drivers were all right there, and and they came to fix the diesels. So they started showing me a little bit of this, and how to get the diesels running and put them in gear and all that and drive them. And they had 4 diesels running. He had 5 diesels on the yard. 4 of them were fixed and ready to go hit the road. So after all these guys leave, I'm there alone one day. There's another knock on the door. And as soon as I open the door, here I am thinking it's these truck drivers, ready to pick up the trucks to take them, to hit the road and go do what they got to do, And it's the feds. The feds shove a warrant in my face, and, at first I was kind of scared. I thought they were coming for me, because here I am on the run for, 2 murders. And, but anyways, they explained to me that, the owner of this company right here, he was evading his taxes. And so they went over there to repossess his trucks, and, being that I was living there on the yard, I had the keys to the trucks. They asked me, to hand over the keys. So I gave them the keys, and, one by one truck at a time, they drove out to the main road, and, they even asked me, because they were short one man, they asked me if I could drive one out there to the street for them. So I went ahead and did that, and then there I was left with a broken down truck that didn't work. So I had to call the dude, the owner of the company right there, and I told him, hey, the feds just came and confiscated your trucks. He goes, yeah, they already informed me they were going to do that.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And then the guy tells me, he says, hey, I'm sorry, but you need to go look for a job, because that's what I need to do. I need to go find me another job so I could start everything all over again. I have no trucks. So tells me to go look for a job, and then he hangs up on me. And so here I am now. I'm mad, because I'm trying to, people are over there, trying to help me out, arranging things, and sometimes when people's intentions are good, sometimes it's, things don't always work out the way that you expect it to. But now here I am without a job, so I'm going back and forth, to the shopping malls, and I'm looking around. And one day on my way back, the dude that at the second-hand shop where I sold my radio, this dude was at the liquor store right there buying a bottle of brandy. And he calls me over and he looks at me and he says, "Hey man," he goes, "I know you're not from here. You stand out like a sore thumb." And he started talking to me in English. And then he tells me, "Hey, I used to live out there in Oakland. I was born over here in Guadalajara, but I was raised up there in Oakland, and my name's Leo." He says, "You want to have a few drinks?" He goes, "I'll introduce you to my wife." He goes, "I'm the caretaker right here at the second-hand shop. Where, my boss is the one that bought your radio." I said, "All right." So I go in there, opens the gate, and we walk in there, and we're right there in a little patio, and he just starts fixing up, the radios and stuff. This is all stuff that, his boss had a contract with some business over here where they here in the States where they would buy stuff that was broken, like for instance, Radio Shack stereos and TVs, stuff like that. And then they bring them over there to Mexico, and they fix them and sell them at the swap meets and stuff. But there it was, we're drinking and stuff, and introduced me to his wife, and we kicked it with him for a couple of hours right there. And then he even ordered some carnitas and stuff, some food. So we ate. I got to eat that night. And then before I left, when ready to go back home, he hands me a radio and says, "Hey, I know how it is to not have nothing when you have to sell your things. I struggle sometimes, just trying to support my family, But here, you could have this, So there I was, God blessed me with a radio. I had to get rid of mine, and I got one in return, But, for the next couple of weeks, he started going down there, to where I lived, asking me that, his boss needed help and stuff, unloading trailers. So I was making a little money doing that right there, and I managed to buy the things that I needed, to eat for the week and stuff. But, time came when I ran into a couple of the truck drivers that had been working on the trucks, and they invited me up there to their neighborhood. And, I went over there. They took me to a party and stuff, and, one dude that I had met, I ended up staying at his house, and in the morning, his mom made breakfast and stuff, and I point this out because there was an incident that happened. He and I had a falling out, and they brought him in to testify against me at court, and he lied right there and said that his mom was feeding me every day. They felt sorry for me. It was nothing like that. It was nothing like that. It was one day I stayed at his house because he didn't want me walking all the way down to where I lived by myself because it had been like 2 o'clock in the morning. So one day I did that. I stayed at his house. So a couple of days later, that morning I went home. A couple of days later, I come back to the little area just to go kick back and hang out with somebody, and that's when I ran into another guy that spoke English right there. And he's a what do they call that? A paraplegic. And he's in a wheelchair, and he was born in East LA, but his family came back to Guadalajara and brought him with them. So being that he spoke English, I started hanging out with him a lot, and he and I, got along real well, and that's how I ended up getting the job through him. He knew some guys that they would get contracts doing landscaping and stuff like that, and with one of his buddies, he let me use his birth certificate to get a job, and that's how I started working, and I ended up working for quite some time at it was not a university, but it's Technologies of Monterrey right there in Guadalajara, doing the gardening and landscaping right there. But what happened is the truck driver that I initially met that was from that neighborhood, he kept complaining to me, the owner of the trucking company owed him and his dad money for the work they did fixing up the trucks. And so at this time, things were going good for me. I had, financially speaking, they were going good. I had my job, and, people here in the States were, at one time, send me a little bit of money, so I was doing all right. I wasn't struggling as I initially was in the beginning when I first arrived there in Guadalajara. And so he kept, this guy kept complaining to me that, you know, my uncle, he kept insisting that he was my uncle, the owner of the trucking company. So, you know, everybody just kind of referred him to, you know, looked at him as, you know, he was my uncle. So he kept saying, you know, your uncle still didn't pay me for the work that me and my dad did on the trucks, and you know, he seen that I was doing good. I had a good job at the time. And so he fed me this little sad story to lend him some money that they were hurting and stuff. So, you know, I go ahead and give him like $20 or something like that. I can't remember. It was 50 pesos. Around there, I can't remember exactly. It was like $20 or something. So I lent it to him. He told me he'd pay it to me later. And so time came, a month went by. He didn't have my money. 2 months went by. Didn't have my money. 3 months went by, and he finally tells me that, you know, I'm not going to pay you nothing. He goes, your uncle never
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Your uncle never paid me, so you're not getting paid until I get paid. And so that's right there. That's where we had the falling out. You know, at this time, I'm hanging out with some other dudes that I met. You know, I met some dudes out there from, you know, from El Monte and stuff. You know, they were born over there but raised over here. So I started hanging out with them guys, and we had more in common with them, you know. And one day, I approached this guy and I told him I wanted my money, you know. I says, I wasn't going to let him burn me like that it didn't matter how much it was. You know, it's the principle. Out of the kindness of my heart, I lent him some money, and now he's coming to my face and telling me I'm burned, that he ain't going to pay me. So I told him, you're going to pay me. And so when he refused to pay me, you know, by this time he's already working for some other company, truck driving. So he has this diesel out there and parked in front of his house. And, you know, one day I was in the neighborhood with one of my buddies over there, and you know, I told this dude, you know, hey, you're going to pay me one way or another. I'm going to collect what you owe me. And he thought I was playing, so I went and flattened all his tires to the diesel, which he had to pay 3-4 times as much just to get them fixed so he could get back on the road. So I flattened all his tires, and it was like 2 days later, he see me walking, and, you know, he was with 3 of his buddies right there. And he calls me to him, you know, and he tells me straight up, you know, I'm going to kill you. And so I walk up to him, and he has his hands in his pocket like he has a gun. And so I walk up to him, I'm probably about 10 feet in front of him, and he says it again, I'm going to kill you. And so I get closer to him. I said, well, if you got a gun, pull it out and use it. And then, he says, you watch, I'm going to kill you. And so I kept telling him, you know, hey, I'm busy, I'm going somewhere. If you got a gun, pull it out and use it right now. And he didn't pull nothing out, so I told him, you know what, I'll see you later. I'm in a hurry right now, I got things to do. I'll see you later. Well, what ended up happening was we saw him later. Me and my buddy Alfred, they were out there. We ended up seeing, there was a lot of dudes, man, when we had our run-in with them. And I had 5 dudes in front of me, and there were 7 in front of my buddy Alfred. And, you know, how that all started was Alfred had to go use the phone, and we had to pass through that neighborhood. And by this time, I thought about the situation I was getting into. You know, I didn't need the problems. You know, I was trying to avoid a bigger problem. So I told Alfred, let's just walk the long way. You got to go use the phone at your cousin's house. We'll walk the long way. And Alfred looks at me and says, what, are you scared or what? So I told him, check it out. I'm not scared. You should know better than to even come at me like that. I said, let's go then. You want to go right by there? We'll go by there. But I don't want to hear it later on if something happens. So we're walking down the street, and all of a sudden I hear somebody yell out my name, and I turn around, and there's about 12 dudes right there, man, lined up. And, you know, we had our sarapes on. There was a little kid standing right there. And so I look at Alfred and I tell him, are you ready?
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Hey, John, my
Yes,
phone
sir.
time's up right now.
Hey,
And, man, it always cuts off right before I'm getting to the good part, man. But I'm going to have to take care.
Hey, that's how you keep. That's how you keep them coming back for more, though.
Yeah, but it gets interesting. I'm going to have to call you maybe in a couple of days. I'll try, all right? But just remind me where I left off, huh? All right?
I got you. Hey, and when we're done with this, bro, I want to get at you because I spent a lot of time over there in the adjustment center with Ronnie, Hector, Chato, and all them dudes, man. So.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I know all them dudes, man. All
I know you.
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay, homie. Yeah,
all
I
right,
know you. So we'll chop it up, bro.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Take it easy, huh?
And you too, Joe.